bad. So let's see. There are rational incentives for change, like we were talking about before. So here's people who are saying we're going to stop eating at KFC once we can get 1 million people, enough, unless they are willing to adopt the suggestions of their animal welfare board. So it's enough people that the customers, they would lose to offset the cost of implementing those suggestions. So it makes rational sense, and as a participant, you can see why you might want to join. Here's another one where a group of people have organized a discount at a local business, where if they can get 30 people to come in, and then it's worth the businesses, it's worth it for the business to offer it at a lower price. Safety in numbers. So here's a bunch of people that are trying to make Election Day a national holiday. If they can get 100,000 people together, they're all just not going to come to work. So if you were trying to make Election Day a national holiday by yourself and you didn't come to work, you'd get fired. But if enough people do it, then you have a kind of safety in numbers. Finally, it enables long shots, things that just never would occur otherwise. So this is a campaign to create a dome over the city of Chicago. And we need $10 billion to do it. And people can put their credit card in and contribute money, but you're not charged until you hit that tipping point. So the cool thing about it is it allows you to separate, like, will this happen from what would it be worth to me? If you just say to someone, what would it be worth to me to make winners obsolete in Chicago? $10,000, no problem. And you know you're not on the line unless you get enough to actually make it happen. Okay, so I'll cut the point presentation off there. And I'll also say that was a terrible presentation. Like, you should never give a presentation like that where you don't even show the product, or you show it like 10 minutes into the presentation. So that's one kind of side. So we launched the point in fall of 2007, and we screwed around with it for a year, didn't really get any traction, and started thinking about making kind of fundamental changes. And we thought about what are the really interesting applications of this, and one of them was this collective buying idea. And we built the point so you could take these little flash widgets and embed them wherever you want on the web, like a YouTube video. So what we did was we created this thing called Groupon, and every day, this is a WordPress blog, and we would do a new post every day and embed a different campaign widget from the point. And that was us from fall of 2008 through like early summer of 2009 was this little bullshit thing that I whipped together in a month. But it worked. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some of the lessons that we've learned that allowed us to be, I think, successful with Groupon where we failed with the point. This first one, you're not building a piece of art, it's a tool. And for me, like when I originally had the idea for the point, it started off as I was frustrated because I had to pay an early termination fee from the cell phone company. And everybody had that problem. I wish there was a way that we could all come together and just say, we're not going to pay this fee. You can't, you can't charge us all if we all refuse to pay. And then the more I thought about it, I realized that you could abstract that model and apply it to everything from organizing a small group of people to buy a ping pong table for their dorm, to boycotting multinational corporations, to group purchases for your local business, to funding a local park. And it became this vision of an idea, like a book. It became much more about being truthful and a complete representation of what the idea was than it was actually building something that was going to be useful. In fact, this down here, just to show you how extreme it was, we did a video, I did a video of myself in the year 2015 talking about like a world where the point was fully mature that I then sent back in time to share with people as a way to like, it was so much more about the vision than it was about just figuring out how to make something useful. Now, with Groupon, it was the total opposite. It was get away from the abstract and recognize that whatever you're building, you have about 1 second for people to look at it and decide if it adds utility. And that's what Groupon was. I mean, even the whole collective buying thing is really minimized in our presentation. It's progressively disclosed. You might realize that when you show up, you just see half off a restaurant. That's awesome. And then once you buy, it's like, oh, we still need another 30 people to join. That's cool. recognize and embrace your constraints. So we totally didn't do this with the point. I mean, with examples like trying to build a dome over the city of Chicago, I mean, what was our plan to make that happen? It would just go viral. And honestly, when I created that campaign, I thought it would happen. I honestly thought, I mean, I didn't think, I thought there was a chance it could happen. So I learned this thing to embrace your constraints from Scott Heiferman at Meetup. This is, I just put this together for this slide, but this is a rough version of how he described to me what the first version of Meetup was. It was just a matrix of cities and of interests, and then you decide which one you're interested in. So if I'm interested in food in San Francisco, I'd click sign up, and it would say, okay, the meetup in your city is at this Starbucks at this corner, and we meet on the first Tuesday of every month, and if 4 people sign up, there's a meetup. If not, then not. So I think what Scott recognized is that it was going to be really hard, especially at the beginning, to get organizers, to get the human that's going to set all this stuff up and make those decisions about exactly what day should it be on, what should the location be. So he really simplified it, took away all the complexities, and just built this simple matrix that would allow it to start getting some traction. And we did the same kind of thing with Groupon. I mean, it's the whole business model, all the decisions we made were largely around living within the constraints that we had. We had this collective purchasing platform, but we didn't have customers, and we didn't have supply. We didn't have inventory of stuff to sell. So we decided, let's start in Chicago, because we can go to local businesses and get them to sign up. And let's only do 1 deal a day, because that's all the deals we could really get. And it was as simple as that. It was around trying, and it was the only